Loneliness is not the absence of people. That's the first lie most men believe for years. Loneliness is the absence of being understood, even when you're surrounded by noise, laughter, family, friends, conversations, notifications, and responsibilities. A man can sit in a room full of people who claim to love him and still feel like he is slowly disappearing. And what makes this more dangerous is that society teaches men to ignore that feeling, to silence it, to bury it under productivity, sacrifice, duty, and strength. From a very young age, men are taught that their value is tied to what they provide, not to what they feel. So when loneliness shows up, it feels like a personal failure rather than a human experience. Most men don't even realize they are lonely. They call it being busy. They call it being tired. They call it stress. They call it responsibility. They call it this is just how life is. And slowly, year by year, they normalize emotional isolation. They stop expecting to be understood. They stop expecting softness. They stop expecting someone to ask, "Are you okay?" and actually wait for the answer. And this is where loneliness becomes dangerous because it doesn't scream, it whispers. It settles quietly into the background of a man's life and reshapes his personality without him noticing. Loneliness makes men emotionally distant, not because they want to be cold, but because warmth starts to feel unsafe. When you learn that no one is coming to emotionally rescue you, you stop reaching out. You stop explaining yourself. You stop correcting misunderstandings. You let people think whatever they want because correcting them feels exhausting. Over time, this creates a man who looks calm, controlled, even confident, but internally feels empty. And people admire this version of him, not realizing that his silence is not strength, it's self-protection. Men learn too late that loneliness hardens them. It makes them impatient with vulnerability, especially their own. It makes them uncomfortable with emotional needs, both in themselves and in others. This is why many men struggle in relationships. They want companionship, but they fear emotional exposure. They crave connection, but they don't know how to receive it without feeling weak. They want peace, but they keep chasing distractions instead. Peace is another concept men misunderstand for most of their lives. They think peace comes from success, money, status, respect, control, or winning. So they chase achievement, believing that once they reach a certain level, the noise inside them will finally stop. But peace does not come from having more. Peace comes from needing less emotional armor. And most men build armor so early that they forget what it feels like to exist without it. A lonely man is often a hyper-responsible man. He feels responsible for everyone else's comfort, but disconnected from his own. He shows up for others, but doesn't feel seen when he's present. He listens, supports, provides, fixes, and protects, yet feels invisible. Over time, this creates quiet resentment, not always toward others, but toward life itself. He starts feeling like no one truly knows him, and eventually he wonders if anyone ever will. This is why many men confuse solitude with loneliness. Solitude can be peaceful. Loneliness is painful. Solitude is chosen. Loneliness is endured. But when a man has been lonely for too long, he starts preferring isolation because at least isolation is predictable. People disappoint, expectations hurt. Silence feels safer than hoping and being let down. And this is how men end up emotionally alone, even in marriages, friendships, and families. Men learn too late that emotional suppression does not equal emotional control. Suppressed emotions don't disappear, they leak. They come out as anger, irritability, impatience, sarcasm, withdrawal, addictions, workaholism, or emotional numbness. Many men pride themselves on being low drama, but what they are actually experiencing is emotional disconnection. Peace is not the absence of emotion. Peace is the ability to experience emotion without being controlled by it. Loneliness also teaches men self-reliance in extreme ways. While independence is healthy, emotional hyper-independence is not. When a man believes he must handle everything alone, he slowly cuts himself off from the possibility of being supported. He stops asking for help. He stops sharing struggles. He convinces himself that needing others is a weakness. And one day, he wakes up emotionally exhausted, not because life is too hard, but because he's been carrying it alone for too long. Peace arrives when a man finally understands that strength does not mean silence. Strength means discernment, knowing who deserves access to your inner world and who does not. Peace is not opening up to everyone. Peace is allowing yourself to be real with the right people. Most men never learn this balance early. They either overshare with the wrong people and get hurt, or they shut down completely and live behind emotional walls. Loneliness changes how men love. A lonely man may appear emotionally unavailable, but often he is emotionally overwhelmed. He doesn't lack feelings, he lacks safety. He has learned that expressing emotion leads to judgment, dismissal, or being misunderstood. So when he finally enters a relationship, he struggles to be emotionally present. He may love deeply, but express it poorly. He may care intensely, but communicate minimally. And this creates a painful cycle where he feels lonely even while being loved. Men learn too late that peace is internal alignment, not external validation. No amount of praise can heal a man who doesn't accept himself. No relationship can save a man who feels disconnected from his own emotional truth. Peace comes when a man stops performing strength and starts practicing honesty with himself. Honest about his limits, honest about his needs, honest about his pain, honest about his fears. One of the most painful realizations men have later in life is recognizing how much of themselves they abandoned to survive, dreams they buried, emotions they silenced, needs they ignored, boundaries they never set. They realized they became who they were needed to be, not who they truly were. And while this helped them function, it cost them inner peace. Loneliness also teaches men patience, but often in unhealthy ways. They learn to tolerate dissatisfaction. They stay in unfulfilling jobs, relationships, routines, and lives because leaving feels risky. They tell themselves it could be worse. And while gratitude is important, emotional resignation is not peace. Peace is not settling. Peace is choosing alignment over comfort. As men age, loneliness becomes quieter but heavier. It's no longer dramatic, it's subtle. It's the absence of excitement, the absence of deep conversations, the absence of feeling alive. And this is when many men start craving peace, not excitement, not validation, not chaos. They want calm, they want simplicity, they want emotional rest. But peace requires confronting loneliness, not avoiding it. Men learn too late that peace comes from self-connection, from knowing who you are without roles, without expectations, without performance. When a man stops defining himself solely by what he does for others and starts valuing who he is internally, loneliness loses its grip, because the most dangerous loneliness is being disconnected from yourself. True peace does not mean life becomes easy. It means life becomes honest. You stop pretending you're okay when you're not. You stop chasing things that don't fulfill you. You stop proving your worth. You stop fighting your own emotions. And slowly, the noise inside you softens. Loneliness teaches men endurance. Peace teaches men presence. Endurance keeps you alive. Presence makes life worth living. Most men master endurance early and presence very late. They survive years before they learn how to actually live. And perhaps the hardest lesson men learn too late is this: you don't need to be needed to be valuable. You don't need to suffer to be strong. You don't need to be alone to be resilient. Peace begins when a man allows himself to receive, not just give, to rest, not just carry, to feel, not just function. Many men spend decades believing that if they just stay useful, they will eventually feel fulfilled. They attach their worth to productivity, to being reliable, to being the one who never breaks. And the problem with this identity is that it leaves no room for human weakness. When a man believes he must always be strong, he starts fearing moments when he feels tired, confused, or emotionally lost. Instead of seeing these moments as signals for rest or reflection, he treats them like flaws to hide. Loneliness deepens here because no one connects with a version of you that never shows need. Men also learn too late that peace requires boundaries, and boundaries feel selfish to those who were raised to overgive. Saying no feels like letting people down. Choosing yourself feels like betrayal. Rest feels like laziness. So men keep pushing past their limits until their mind and body force them to stop. Burnout becomes the language their soul uses when words were ignored for too long. And by then, the loneliness is no longer emotional, it becomes existential. There is a specific kind of loneliness men experience when they realize no one truly knows their internal world. People know their role, their reputation, their reliability, their humor, their anger, but not their fears, doubts, or quiet hopes. This creates a split identity. The outer man functions, the inner man waits to be acknowledged, heard, or even noticed. Over time, this waiting turns into numbness because hope without expression becomes heavy. Peace is often mistaken for emotional neutrality, but true peace is emotional clarity. It's knowing what you feel without being ashamed of it. Many men don't lack emotions, they lack language for them. They were never taught how to articulate sadness without anger or vulnerability without embarrassment, so they default to silence, and silence, when prolonged, becomes loneliness. Men also learn too late that being chosen by others does not replace choosing yourself. Approval feels good, but it is temporary. When your sense of worth depends on external validation, peace becomes fragile. One criticism can shake you. One rejection can reopen old wounds. One failure can feel like proof that you were never enough. Peace arrives when a man internalizes his value instead of negotiating it with the world. Loneliness changes how men see time. Years pass quickly because they are always preparing for the next responsibility. They delay joy, they postpone rest, they promise themselves that one day things will slow down. But peace does not arrive in the future, it is practiced in the present. Men learn this late, often after realizing how many moments they rushed through without being fully there. There is also loneliness in being emotionally misunderstood. When a man finally opens up and his vulnerability is minimized, joked about, or dismissed, it reinforces his belief that silence is safer. One invalidating response can undo years of internal courage. This is why many men stop sharing altogether, not because they don't feel deeply, but because they feel deeply and don't want that depth mishandled. Peace requires emotional courage, not emotional toughness. Courage to sit with discomfort without numbing it. Courage to question inherited beliefs about masculinity. Courage to admit that strength without softness becomes rigidity, and rigidity breaks. Men learn too late that flexibility, emotionally and mentally, is what allows them to adapt without losing themselves. Loneliness also teaches men self-observation. In quiet moments, they start noticing patterns. Why certain relationships drain them, why certain environments exhaust them, why certain conversations feel shallow. This awareness is painful at first because it exposes how much of life has been lived on autopilot, but it is also the doorway to peace because awareness precedes change. Men often chase peace through control over finances, control over outcomes, control over emotions, but peace cannot be controlled. It can only be cultivated. The more a man tries to dominate life, the more resistance he feels. Peace grows when he learns to cooperate with reality instead of fighting it. Loneliness teaches men how to survive in silence. Peace teaches them how to exist without tension. Survival mode sharpens instincts but dulls joy. A man can be highly functional and deeply unfulfilled at the same time. And this contradiction confuses many men because they did everything right and still feel empty. Men learn too late that emotional rest is as important as physical rest. Sleep does not fix emotional exhaustion. Distraction does not heal emotional neglect. Only acknowledgement does. Acknowledging pain does not make a man weak, it makes him aware. And awareness is the foundation of peace. Loneliness also reshapes desire. Men stop wanting excitement and start wanting safety. Not safety from danger, but safety to be themselves. Safety to speak without being corrected. Safety to feel without being judged. Safety to exist without performing. This is when peace starts to matter more than passion, more than chaos, more than intensity. Many men realize late that peace is not something you find in other people, but something you bring into relationships. When you are internally chaotic, even love feels overwhelming. When you are internally grounded, even solitude feels nourishing. This shift does not happen overnight. It happens after years of emotional friction. Loneliness forces men to confront their inner dialogue, the voice that criticizes, the voice that minimizes pain, the voice that says, "Others have it worse." Peace comes when that voice softens, when self-compassion replaces self-pressure, when a man stops being his own harshest judge. Men learn too late that peace requires grieving. Grieving lost time, lost versions of self, lost opportunities. Grieving is not weakness, it is emotional integration. Without grief, peace remains superficial. With grief, peace becomes honest. And in the quiet moments when distractions fade, many men realize that the peace they were chasing externally was always waiting internally, beneath layers of expectations, conditioning, and emotional suppression, asking not to be conquered, but to be acknowledged, listened to, and allowed to exist without justification. In the end, loneliness is not what breaks men. Misunderstanding it does. Loneliness is not a curse, it is a signal that something inside you has been ignored for too long. And peace does not arrive when life becomes easier. It arrives when you stop abandoning yourself to survive it. The men who find peace are not the ones who carried the most weight, but the ones who finally put it down. Strength is not proven by how much you endure in silence, but by how honestly you are willing to live. When a man chooses self-respect over self-neglect, presence over pressure, and truth over performance, loneliness loses its power, and peace stops being something he searches for and becomes something he lives. If this message spoke to the part of you that rarely gets heard, this is Voice of Wisdom, a space for men who think deeply, feel quietly, and are ready to choose clarity over chaos. Stay connected. More truths like this are coming,